All right, everybody. Super pumped to be here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is Honest to God on AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. Got a good show today. It's going to be pretty great. We only got two panelists, though.
There's two of them.
Just two of us. Producer Ben.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody else in camera right now?
Nope.
And then to my right, we have that which is and isn't. Producer Showno's Benny over there hanging out.
Yep.
Jotting stuff down. It's gonna be great. We got Cameron, we got Madeline. Both are pros. They've been here before. We got canceled on by Nene today. Nene's sick.
Really? Nene was supposed to be here? Aw.
Prayers for Nene. So her dad works in some like Norwegian thing, and they drilled too deep into the ice, and it's some weird prehistoric disease that has come out.
They're just trying to make sure it doesn't get out.
Yeah, her pupils have expanded over her entire eyes. Yeah, and the word that I kept hearing was drinking people's souls. So I don't know what that means, but apparently it's happening.
Thoughts and prayers out to
Thoughts and prayers. Yeah. Also, don't go near Lawrenceville for a while. Just a hunch I got.
Yeah.
But it's not what we're going to talk about today. Today on this episode of Honest to God, we're going to be getting into chivalry, which I'm excited about. I don't really know like where we're going to take it, so I'm excited about finding out where that is. But first, let's pray and then introduce you guys. Cameron, you're going to owe us two fun facts too.
Two fun facts?
Yeah, because it's been a while. So
it has been.
It's like rolled up to another one.
Okay.
All right, but first, anybody want to volunteer to pray?
You got it.
You got it, Madeline.
I prayed last time.
Yeah,
I prayed last time we too.
I'll pray. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Lord, thank you so much for this opportunity to be together. Thank you for the panelists here. Thank you for producer Ben. Thank you for anybody else who may or may not be in this room. And we ask you to be with us today and all the time, not just the people in this room, but all of our listeners, anybody who's watching this on YouTube. Please be with us and help us to remember what is most important in life, Lord. Help us to prioritize our lives around what is true, good, and beautiful, and to remember that our number one priority is not the things of this world, but is spending eternity with you. Please give us strength and be with us today and all days. And we ask for special blessings on anybody listening to the show and all the people here as we pray through the intercession of your blessed mother. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. All right, since I always rank prayers, I'm going to give that prayer a B. Right at a B, like an 84.
Oh, okay.
Not small, not to be a B, not because I did kind of cop out there in the end. I always complain when people cop out.
I know. I was literally. I'm going to be honest. You were praying. I was like, wow, this is a really good prayer.
It was a good prayer.
And then you did pray Hail Mary there at the end.
What is it that you don't like about the Blessed Mother?
I was gonna do it back at you because you always make fun of everybody or call people out.
But it's the best way to do it, and it's one of those. You just want to say Amen. I know, but
so you did it.
It's just like
creativity. I think it's great prayer. I always call on Mary.
That's why I got a B instead of an A. Like I'm not being hypocritical here. Yeah, I'm staying true. All right, so let's do some fun facts. Ben, you've got to give us one too, just because we got to pad the beginning of the show here.
Yeah.
People come for the fun facts. I can't tell you how many emails we get with people who say something. It kind of hurts my feelings.
But we want a fun fact
some variety of I watched the beginning. And then I watched the end. I watched fun facts and popsicle sticks. That's what I get most excited about.
A guy come up to me at work the other day. He was one of the security guards at the place I work, and he came up and he said, "Hey, how many guinea pigs do you own?" I was like, "None." And he said, "Oh, at least, but you'd have at least two, right?" I was like, "Yeah,
they can't be alone."
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Oh, cool. He knows that fun fact too. I guess he's bringing that up as well." And he said, "I watch your podcast." I was like, "Oh,
no way!
Cool. Awesome. All right,
that's awesome. Cool."
So, shout out to his name.
We'll edit that in later.
I'll edit his name in. I'll just do like a crappy robot voiceover.
That'd be perfect.
Yep.
And before we get to the fun facts, I do want to let everybody know who the sponsor of this episode is. The sponsor of this episode is Superman Forever. Superman Forever, starring Nicolas Cage. It was started in the 1990s. Apparently it exists, but then it was shelved forever. There's a brief clip of it in The Flash, the not great DC movie that came out not too long ago. But this episode is brought to you by Superman Forever, starring Nicolas Cage. So please go out and
it's my favorite Superman movie.
Yeah, check that one out. I don't know where, I don't know how, I don't think it's possible, but you should, because they're paying us oodles and oodles of bucks to be our sponsor today on Honest to God. 4. Is that what we decided?
Yeah.
$4. And you, dear listener, can sponsor this show for $4, which is a price that we made up not that long ago. And surprisingly, no one has taken us up on that. I will 100%.
What are you talking about? Superman?
I'm sorry. Right. I mean, any of our listeners. Yeah. Obviously, Superman Forever starring Nicolas Cage
Right,
took
yeah.
us up on that because they are the sponsor of today's episode of Honest
Right.
to
Yep.
God.
Totally.
Yeah. What's your fun fact, Cameron?
Is the $4 taxed?
No.
No.
Wow.
Well, that's a flat
We
rate.
will
Generous.
pay tax on it.
That's
Yeah.
very generous. Wow, that's awesome. Well, my first fun fact, I just got my pilot's license a couple weeks ago.
Heck yeah. Congratulations.
So did that one.
You were planning an outing to fly Madeline and some other people up
Trying
there.
to, yeah.
Super cool.
We'll see who's up for it. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'd be up for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
second-
one, Cameron.
That's one. The second one, save the best for last, is I just ripped my pants about 2 minutes ago.
Like the karate rep?
right down the side
Like
just a little
in
bit.
studio?
No, like right out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the pants you're wearing right now are ripped?
Yeah, just a little bit down the side. Madeline can see it.
Great
right down the
concept,
side right here.
Ben.
Wanted
Great
to get that little slit
baby.
in.
I just want to say it's not safe around here.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
For pants.
Yeah, for pants, especially for pants.
I got a quick ripped my pants story. One time when I was teaching a room full of 9th graders, I bent over to pick up something and I ripped my pants, literally the crotch of my pants about halfway to the knee. And I stood up and I sort of assessed the situation, and there's no way to recover from that,
course
right? There's
not.
no like, you can see my underwear if I move kind of thing. And so I had to say, so guys, I just ripped my pants. I'm going to really awkwardly walk over and grab that stapler and then go to the bathroom. And I stapled my pants back together, and
Nice.
I wore stapled together pants. For the rest of the, they were like suit pants, like
Yeah.
nice pants.
It was kind of hard to do the try not to look because it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, but if you just keep your knees together and only walk moving your shins,
Don't just poop yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think it's when you bend over and that's when it rips. That's like peak ripping
Yeah.
pants.
Well, there was no noise too. It would have been a lot funnier. It would have been a lot harder to recover from
It would
had
have.
had there been like an audible rip noise. But there wasn't. What you got, Madeline?
Fun fact, y'all don't need to know anything else about me.
What? Is that
I
really?
don't have any fun facts anymore, John Henry.
It doesn't have to be about you. We've talked about this.
I don't have any fun
You don't know
facts.
anything fun?
No.
I think Madeline's been on the most amount of shows out of any guest.
Has she
She's
now?
been on like 15 episodes of Honest to God.
No way.
Out of, this is our 70th, no.
Anniversary of Honest to God.
Yeah, 70 years we've been doing this
So
show.
one episode a week for 70 years. You
yeah.
do the math at home because math is fun. Okay, I'll take that, Madeline. That's okay. I was trying to think if I had a fun fact to loan you, but I don't think I do.
Yeah. Maybe next time I'll have one, but not this time.
Awesome. All right, whenever you're ready, producer Ben, what you got?
My fun fact is that I'm finally moving out.
Heck yeah.
I am so freaking pumped. I'm already...
Fun
No,
fact.
no, Madeline. Can we turn her mic off?
Ben is moving 10 minutes away from me.
Madeline went with me to look at houses.
I did.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And it was Tuesday of last week that I saw the house for the first time, and I signed the lease yesterday.
That's awesome.
So it's a really freaking cool like cabin in the woods with nothing else around.
Can I come over
Yeah.
soon? We haven't talked about
Yes,
this yet.
absolutely.
I would love
John
to come
Henry.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah, I will. I'll like bring beer and help you do like home improvement projects.
sweet.
I would
All right.
really like that a
Yeah.
lot. Cool.
Cool.
All right, that's a good fun fact. That's a really fun fact. A really good fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to think if I have a fun fact. Oh, I'm moving too. I'm moving in like less than a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
You've
house
been
is
building this
done.
house
My
for
house is built.
how long have you been building now?
It's been 2 years since we've owned the property. They just started actual construction though in May, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're just about there.
Sweet.
Yeah,
I'm pumped to see that too. Yeah.
it's great.
I'll have to come
super
visit.
excited. My fence got finished today.
Nice.
The part that somebody else does, because I can build fences, but I can't build attractive fences. So the part that humans can see
Right.
is professionally built, and then I'm building the other piece that goes through the woods.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
So yeah, it's exciting stuff. All right, and with that, we're going to dive into our topic today, which is chivalry. And I was told off air that Cameron was an expert in this, so I want to open it up and just sort of, I have some ideas, but I don't think it's any surprise to anybody who watches or listens that I do zero show prep. So I don't really know the direction this is going to go. I have a vague idea of chivalry. I say the word and I think about like knights, and I think about princesses, and I think about dragons, and I think about all this cool medieval imagery, but I want to dig into what it is. Does it still exist? Should it? Is it misogynistic? Like, I want to get into all of that. So Cameron, what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so it started, I don't remember the year, but when knights were still a thing. And it was, I can't remember the word for it, but it was initially created to sort of ground all these knights who were going off to war, who weren't religious, who would otherwise be sort of barbaric.
Sure.
And so it was sort of almost like a unwritten rule book, sort of like a code of conduct on how to act. And so that's sort of, we've sort of taken that nowadays, and obviously now it's typically seen as holding the door open for women.
What's the difference between that and manners?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like if we're going to
Yeah.
just define it as an unwritten rule book of how to act, like what's the difference between that and just like Emily Post discussing how you should behave at dinner? Because I feel like there is a distinction.
There definitely is.
I feel like I don't know if this is fact or not, but I feel like manners is just something it's just common sense. You just should do it because it's right. But being chivalrous is intentionally doing something for somebody else. Specifically in this case, a man doing something nice
Sure.
for a woman.
It's gender specific.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I would say that's...
Okay, cool. So it starts in the Middle Ages or whenever, right? And it becomes this way to sort of like, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but to like calm the baser like passions of these knights and such. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of warfare and everything. Right. And not a lot of people realize this, but if you look at, I mean, obviously the Middle Ages were a really rough, awful, kind of war-torn time in a lot of ways, but it was also really good in a lot of ways. And the Catholic Church was pulling the strings the entire time to limit the amount of carnage and bloodshed. I mean, I think I was reading this back when I used to teach world history. There was only something like 40 days or something throughout the entire year that were actually approved battle days where people were actually allowed to fight one another. I don't know if that's true, but just sort of that limiting principle of, listen, we know that you've got all of this aggression and such, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it needs to be tempered in a way. I don't know. I think that's neat.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So what is that? I mean, that's great that we're talking about these really old codes of chivalry, right? We can talk about those in a European context. We can talk about those in like a Japanese context too, or something like that. Why do we care, and why are we talking about it in 2023?
So I think one of the biggest, the first thing that comes to my mind when I think of chivalry now, is there's sort of a stigma around it where guys who are being chivalrous to women, it's almost perceived as, since we've been sort of telling women that they need to be strong and independent, and through that essentially doing the job of a man, right. Negating all of those gender roles, now chivalry has been sort of seen as doing something for women because they can't, like they're incapable of holding a door open.
I see, sure.
Something like that. So that's what I think of when I think of chivalry.
Well, that's a big discussion just on sort of the modern feminist movement in general, and what a cancer it is, frankly.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. What are your impressions, Madeline? Like, what do you think when we're talking about chivalry? Do you agree with Cameron?
Yeah, I feel like, I guess I would say, it's like, kind of like I was saying earlier, just like a guy. I personally feel, I guess whenever I feel genuinely loved, but like not in a romantic way, but just in like I like want to help you as a person kind of way, like from a guy, I feel like they're being very chivalrous because they're not getting anything out of it. Right. And I think that's how like I think that's like why chivalry was made. It's just like a way of giving yourself up for.
Well, was the original idea to sort of constrict male interaction with women? Was it women specific, or was it this is how you conduct yourself in battle and in life? And I honestly don't know. I'm not fishing for answers here. I am fishing, but it's because I don't know. I'm not trying to get you to give me a certain response.
Right. So sort of the evolution of it after all the knight stuff happened is it almost became a way of women since, the 1800s before then, obviously giving birth was a lot more dangerous, and it was a lot more demanding. Yeah,
you heard it here on Honest to God. Cameron says giving birth is a piece of cake, ladies.
Nowadays,
2023, so stop complaining.
Yeah, come on. A couple Tylenol?
Yeah.
Come on.
All right, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail. Keep going.
But it was essentially used as a way of women sort of figuring out who they want to marry, because their primary concern then was, I want someone who, when I have this child, is going to be physically capable of protecting me. They're going to be able to take care of this baby. They're going to be able to provide for me. And one of the best ways of showing that was men, holding doors open for them or holding, whatever there was in the 1800s open for them.
I think they had doors. I think they had doors.
They needed it too. Yeah. But that was sort of a way of easily weeding them out, because it's saying, okay, are you willing to self-sacrifice for me, specifically because I'm a woman, not because I deserved it, but specifically because of my nature as a woman.
I like that a lot. I like the not because I deserve it thing. I'm giving a talk at a confirmation retreat on Saturday, and it's the men's talk, right? And a big piece of it is part of your masculinity has to do with giving the respect that women are owed, even when they don't deserve it as individuals, right? Even if there is a girl who disrespects her body and who doesn't, uphold her own dignity, it is still a good masculine thing to continue to uphold that regardless, right? So that's super interesting. What are you going to say, Madeline?
I don't know. I'm honestly, this is really well said. I don't know. I don't really know much about like a man's perspective on it, but I will say like what I've experienced and like what I've seen from a woman or like it's like side of the things receiving that. And I think in today's society, a lot of people, especially women, want to be independent and strong and like do things on their own and be capable. And I think a lot of times when an act like that, which I know we keep saying this over and over again, but it's the most basic cliche act, but like holding the door open, it's like I was reading on some like comments and stuff like that like guys have talked about whenever I was like researching things about this, and they said every single time, there's this one guy, he's like, every single time like I hold open a door for a woman, either if she's just to like help her out, be nice, be a gentleman, she always throws the patriarchy in my face and say how she could have done it on her own and stuff like that. And it's like, I think stuff like that gets very, I don't know, very distorted, because I know there's like the whole thing going around with toxic masculinity. Sure. And I think so much of it is blown out of proportion, and we've kind of lost sight of like what's genuine and what's not, and like what's for our own good and what's for the good of the other. And I don't know, it's weird. I personally don't have a lot of experience with non-chivalrous men, especially in the past few years. That's really I know. Awesome. And right now I'm living in a Catholic community, and everyone is, it's so apparent in that community that the men have been raised right, or at least they're in a community where they're learning from each other. And I have felt very appreciated as a woman in that community.
That's beautiful. That's really cool. But I do take issue with one thing that you said, and we can argue about it if you want.
Go for it.
You said something to the effect of women don't want. They were throwing this back in this guy's face for holding the door or whatever, and saying, "I don't want that. I can do that." And I'm gonna look directly in the camera and speak to all of our dear watchers right now and say, "I'm gonna mansplain." Currently, are you ready for mansplaining session?
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead,
ladies. You don't want that. I don't think you want that. And I think I know more about what women want in that regards than a lot of women, the majority of women in the Western world who have bought into that sort of feminist lie, right? Where that says what you want is to be masculine, right? And they wouldn't use that terminology, right? They wouldn't use the terminology of I want to be masculine, but they would say, I want to be strong and I want to be independent and I want to be self-reliant and all these things. I honestly don't think women want that. I think women have been fooled into thinking that they want that because of our broken, backward culture and 50 years of indoctrination from everything on the news and in television and in pop culture. But I don't think they want that. Do you agree?
I completely agree with that. Okay. Yeah.
What do women want, Madeline? Tell us right now.
They want someone that'll...
Womansplain to women.
I will look at directly the camera and say this. I think as a woman, we just want to be respected and be protected. I think a big thing is just be protected and like feel safe. And I think that's one of the big things. It's just like so many women feel unsafe just out in the world. Right. And I will say there's a lot of good men out there. I have met so many good men, but there's also a lot of bad men. Totally. And I've had like my last job that I was at, one of the security guards made me so uncomfortable and would say all of these things to me and like be very, very perverted, make me very uncomfortable to the point where that was one of the reasons why I quit. So it's like, I completely understand that there's bad people out there. But it's just like, we want to just feel like we like don't have to protect ourselves. Like every single time we go outside, we got to be like, okay, I got to be on the lookout. Like I saw this video that somebody had made and it was like, which I think some of these are a little hyperbolized.
Are you going to talk
I
about the
guess.
girl walking through downtown? Is that what you're going to say?
I don't know.
Sorry, tell your story. Yeah,
But yeah,
I think I've seen
basically it's like it was a woman who made the video, but she made a man's perspective versus a woman's perspective of going on a walk like out in the city, whatever. And like the guy had like both his earbuds in, didn't even think about it. And then the girl was like, "Oh, I should keep one out just in case I hear somebody approaching."
Right.
And then it was like, I think it was like going on a walk at night or something like that. And it's like the guy was like, "Oh, somebody's up there. Maybe I can like chat and say hi with them." But the girl was like, "Oh, somebody's up there. I need to avoid that because I don't want
Right.
something bad to happen." So it's like I think what we've done today is like taken that, which I would say is something separate from men being chivalrous. It's just, that's just evil. That's just bad people. And I think we've done that. So it's like when a guy doesn't hold the door open or something like that, doesn't make us feel protected or isn't very chivalrous. I think we have, I don't know how to put the words together, but we've like associated the two things together, but I think they're two separate things. So it's like when we are protected or, like somebody is trying to be genuinely nice and chivalrous to us, we don't know how to take that because
Right.
for a while there, like we didn't experience that. So it's like, it's a new experience. It's something that's like, oh, maybe he's trying to,
Yeah, no, totally.
do something. Maybe he's trying to take advantage of me,
Right.
get me vulnerable.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm not in any way minimizing like the physical risk that women can be exposed to, right? Because that's absolutely a factor that I understand that women have to deal with in a way that I don't have to deal with. But I think what's worse than that, more pervasive than that, is sort of our societal understanding of a woman and her place in society. And you have a lot of guys who, the vast majority in the Western world, who are hearing a lot of women who say, I want to be independent and I can do whatever I want to with my own body and I just want to do all these masculine sort of things, even fall into predominantly masculine sin, which is particularly gross when a woman is falling into masculine sin. And the guys are saying, great, I'm going to treat you like that. And so while the woman, even if she's not in a position where she has to worry about like a physical or sexual assault or something like that, her womanhood is just being like kicked down and crammed down by the society until all of a sudden she looks around at 60 years old and she doesn't have any real relationships. She's never felt loved. She's never felt cared for. She doesn't have any children, or if she does, she has this marriage that's disordered because she's trying to take on this head of household role. And we're killing women metaphorically. We're like deadening them inside because we've all given ourselves over to this understanding that women are just men with long hair, right? Sorry, I didn't mean to go off camera.
That's really
That
good.
was-
No,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, that's where you're seeing all if you look at the statistics, people aren't getting married nearly as the numbers they used to be. Women aren't as happy as they used to be. Neither are men. And I think it's specifically, like you said, because we're telling women that they need to, that they're just men with long hair, essentially. That's a really good way to put it. And I think it's also important to note, too, that chivalry is not just when you like a girl or something. I mean, my dad always holds the door open for my sisters and my mom. It's like a continuous thing. And I've seen old men do it when it hurts for them to stand up. They still hold the doors open for people. It is an act of kindness. It's an act of selflessness. And also getting back to it was really interesting. I was reading an article that said that even women who are even the most staunch feminists, though they don't admit, not that they don't admit it, but that they don't, they're certainly not outspoken on how much they like it, will typically subconsciously prefer a man who is being chivalrous, even if they say that that's not what they want. Specifically,
No, I was just going to say, I think that it's innate.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Just like the man who acts feminine, right? We can lie to ourselves all day long and pretend like we don't want to act a certain way or we don't want a certain thing, but it is part of our human nature as men to be protectors and providers, right? It is part of a woman's human nature to be protected and be provided for and to be nurturing, all these other things. And the lie is that it's infantilizing, because it's not infantilizing, right? It's putting you up on a pedestal. It's saying, hey, listen, you are this thing that is worthy of respect and care in a manner that I don't have to give to you, Cameron, right? But you are owed, Madeline, by virtue of your womanhood, right? Yeah. And you can't lose it. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. You can do the worst things in the world, right? If you see a prostitute on the side of the street or something, she still is deserving of that, even if she as an individual and her actions would make it seem otherwise.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other thoughts? We got about 2 minutes left, and I want to dig into some other stuff. I don't want to get started on another tangent before the break.
Just to kind of follow up, John Henry, I found a video recently that I thought it works very well in this context. And so for the first time, I wanted to show a video on Honest to God. I'll impose this over so our viewers can watch this while we're doing. You guys can, it's mostly audio, but I'll play it for John Henry here.
Do you want to know one of the saddest realizations I recently had? Was that as a liberal woman, it is really hard to find a man who is willing to play the more traditional masculine role in the relationship in today's day and age, who is not a conservative. A man who wants to pay on the first date, who wants to open your door, who has that want and desire to take care of you and to provide, who is not a conservative. And obviously, as a liberal woman, I do want to be respected for my independence. And I do want to have my own autonomy in the relationship and not be confined or conform to the traditional female homemaker, childbearing role. And most of the men that I've dated who do have that more natural provider masculinity about them are normally conservative. So I don't really know what to do because I don't want to compromise my morals and values just to find a man. But am I asking to have my cake and eat it too?
So I don't know if you've seen online, I don't know how it started. It's kind of become memeable now, but that whole leopards eating your face party thing. Have you seen that?
No.
Right. It'll be a headline and it'll say, members of the leopards, let leopards eat your face party, surprised when leopards ate their faces. Right. And that's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
no, absolutely.
So what you're saying is crazy revelation here, that when we've totally devalued traditional masculinity and we've totally devalued and when I say traditional, I don't mean like we did it a long time, I mean like rightly ordered, right? We've totally devalued rightly ordered relationships between men and women. You're telling me that the men all of a sudden are not being held to the same standard, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I think it points to a much larger issue that even these women who are like asking for those modern values of they want to be left alone and independent but also protected and have a man in their life that will serve them like a man should.
Right.
Like, we're not saying that that's not right of you to want that man, but it's just funny that you're now realizing this.
Well, because reality will always out, right? Like reality always wins eventually.
Truth.
Yeah, truth definitely. Yeah, it'll all come full circle. No, that's awesome. Thank you. I don't know if I said this before the show, but I've been trying something new. You've probably noticed. As the resident bad boy of AM Catholic Radio that airs on Saturdays between 4 and 5, I started growing my hair out.
Oh.
Have you see that? See these locks coming out?
There's a little bit of hair there.
I wanted to reveal that today because this episode of Honest to God is brought to you by Superman Forever, starring Nicolas Cage, and he has really long hair in that movie.
He does.
So
give you 2 weeks, you'll be there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm getting there pretty
That's
fast.
close.
That's how hair works.
Really
Thanks,
close.
Thanks, man. I've really been working on it. And
what kind of product do you use?
I actually do. I condition this.
Really?
I condition
Oh,
this.
nice.
Got a little bit of beeswax action in there. Yeah. No, I'm a big fan of conditioner. I used to have like shoulder length hair in high school. I had a beautiful flow. Yeah, it was really pretty.
Wow.
I found a picture of myself when I was 16 the other day, and I looked awesome.
Just the single weep, not a tear. But the single,
We're totally going to do an episode on the 7 times that it's okay for men to weep. On the show, but not today, because today we're going to talk about chivalry. We last left off kind of getting into the weeds in a really, really good way, and I kind of want to keep going, but I wanted to start by the example we used over and over and over again, even in the video clip that we went to, was holding the door open. And I have a feeling it's deeper than that. So I'd like to talk about like how do we go deeper? What are deeper examples of chivalry other than you can't use holding the door open or asking someone if you can carry the heavy things that they have? Mm-hmm. What are some examples?
I think, the first one that comes to mind, like specifically in a relationship, would be like paying first and like not even waiting for the woman to offer to pay. Just go ahead, and that's just kind of like an automatic thing.
Ladies never offer to pay ever, no matter what.
Yeah.
If they can't pay,
and also,
then, that's a them problem.
Yeah, and also if never mind. Actually, the thought
just came and went.
I'm on the edge of my seat right now.
Well, when it comes back, let us know.
I will.
No, but seriously, that is something that I do. And I'm really serious about. Like, I'm talking about when you take a girl to homecoming when you're 15.
Yeah, okay, that's also another thing. Even if you're not in a relationship and they offer to pay, let them pay. Don't fight it. Don't try to give them the card back. Don't do the, pick a card with the waiter. Just let them pay.
Right.
So that was the first thing that came to mind with that.
Well, so, and I want to get more into this, but well, no, you know what? We're going to come back, but in a minute, I want you to talk about something that you said off air, which is basically, ladies, let men be chivalrous. Stop not letting men be chivalrous.
Oh, yes, I would love to talk more about that. Yes.
Let's get into some other examples. I've got a big one that I want to get into, but I want to hear your thoughts first. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to steal this one for you. I was going to say standing on the side of the road that all the cars are.
I got called out by a homeless guy in downtown Atlanta in like 2009.
Yeah. Well, I like that one because that one's a little bit more like protective, and I think it displays that protection. I know one thing that I do, and I don't know if you could define this as chivalry, maybe like inadvertent, but if I'm walking out of class and I'm going to the parking lot and I'm following a girl and our cars are parked very close to each other on the far unlit side of it, and I can tell she's kind of getting like, I'll go a different way. Just because I have two sisters, so I've heard all the stories and I understand how their mind works. So yeah, that's one way.
No, that's huge. That's really good. That's a good one. I find, and I probably said this on the air before, but as now a clearly grown man, right? I'm in my mid 30s, and I am constantly like second guessing myself and trying to make sure that I'm not creepy in so many situations, right? Especially if I'm talking to like a young woman who's a waitress or something. I'm trying to be polite, but I'm trying to make it really clear. Like, also, I'm definitely not hitting on you, ma'am. Like, just so you know. I've had to, and I kind of like this kind of pains me a little bit, but it's true, and I think that it's rightly ordered since I've moved here. I grew up in pretty deep South Georgia, and you called everybody darling and sweetheart. Right. And now I have to actively be like, do not call her sweetheart. Do not call her darling. She thinks you're being weird and pervy.
Thanks, pumpkin.
Like she's worried that you're coming on to her. But I'm definitely not waitress or a checkout girl at Kroger. You know what? Yeah, this will be a really important clip. If you're the checkout girl at Kroger and you see me come through and I accidentally call you darling, I really don't mean it that way. And I'm trying not to. And I understand that just because you don't know my intentions, and I apologize. So
he's just from the South.
Exactly. I can't help it sometimes. There is obviously the exception, which is older, overweight black women, which I must call darling and sweetheart, and they call it back to me and sugar
and honey,
and I just feel safe.
I love when they say it back.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my goodness!
That's my favorite variety of nurses. Is overweight, older black nurses. They're the best nurses.
I had to get my blood tested one time, and a black lady took care of me, and I felt so protected.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, and we might get in trouble for talking about this specifically having to do with race on the air, but it's true. Okay, I'm sorry.
Totally.
If I have an overweight older black woman tell me it's going to be okay, I believe her every time.
I know. I don't know how they do it, but they do. It's incredible.
It's most soothing, everything.
Totally.
Really?
So the one I was going to talk about from a chivalry perspective, and this is a little more intensive one, is more in relationships, right? And it all comes down to sexual ethics, right? Like, obviously, I mean, I don't know what the code of chivalry is. I'm sure if can we look that up? Was there like an official code of chivalry?
I'll send you a book. Yeah.
Really? No. Yeah. But I'm sure there were specific rules. And I guarantee you they probably didn't even have to say this because it was so obvious at the time, but not objectifying women and being the man being the one who takes the role in saying, hey, we need to avoid X, Y, or Z situation because I'm pushing things too far.
Right.
I think a huge problem we have, a real symptom of the cultural decay of our society is the fact that the onus is on girls typically with physical chastity. Right? And I talk to a lot of young men, a lot of college age guys, and one thing that I hear a whole lot is some version of, well, as soon as she said no, I stopped. Like, okay, that's great, man, but the onus is on you, not just her. I've said it 100 times on the show. Ladies, don't date a guy who's comfortable waiting until you're ready for anything sexual. Date a guy who himself is committed to waiting, right, until you are married to go into that realm. Otherwise, he is literally just a lion in the long grass waiting for you to let your guard down. And then in a moment of weakness on your part, you're going to make some bad decisions. You're going to breach some boundaries with chastity.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think you can find a single disconnect betwing chastity and chivalry.
Well, a huge part of it is that, right? I think that has a lot to do with it.
And that might be what's so attractive to some women. And I think there's also a connection between women who like men being chivalrous and also women who have really embraced their femininity, which is also very attractive in the true sense of the form. But I think there is that connection too because I think women who are embraced by their femininity understand that it's a chaste act for a man to act chivalrous, even subconsciously.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to read this was just passed to me from the Nether Realm. Knight's Code of Chivalry described by the Duke of Burgundy. The chivalric virtues of the Knight's Code of Chivalry were described in the 14th century by the Duke of Burgundy. The words he chose to use to describe the virtues that should be exhibited in the Knight's Code of Chivalry were as follows: faith, charity, justice, prudence, temperance, resolution, truth, liberality, diligence, hope, and valor. That's cool.
That's really cool.
And once again, that is a very quick version. Just like here's some words that fly off. The inclusion of the word faith there is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because there's a major religious component tied up in this. Weren't you talking about that off air?
Yeah, no, especially with the Knights, like you were saying, the origins of it, it had a very big faith connection to it. And especially, I mean, like that video shows, conservative women and specifically ones who are religious, which is, I'd say, the majority, there is a special desire to see that. And it's one of those things where I think women don't want, like, you don't want to say for them to do it because you want them to do it on their own, because there's a different meaning to it when that's the case. So
I bring this, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, you go ahead. I'll follow.
Well, I was just going to say, I bring this up fairly regularly on the show, but one of my favorite assignments that I do is I give my 11th grade theology of the body class. They're supposed to make a list of 10 attributes that they find attractive and unattractive, non-physical attributes in members of the opposite sex. And one of the things that both the girls and the guys always say, but for the chivalry context, we'll talk about the girls, is something about them being strong in their faith. Almost every single girl is going to say that, right? Because they do realize that standing for something is so good and so clearly missing in our society. Literally anything, really. That sense of an identity rooted in something above and beyond yourself, right, is something that is so attractive to both members, right, to guys and girls. But I think that we struggle with finding guys more than girls who exemplify that. What are you going to say?
I completely agree. I realized what I was going to say was kind of going to change the topic a little bit, but if we wanted to keep talking about this, I'm down to. I
want to hear the Madeline rabbit hole. Let's go.
Okay, one thing that I was thinking about when you said earlier, when you were saying how you are attracted to women who are like, embrace their femininity and stuff. And I was actually reading an article, and that is a fact. It's like it goes both ways. Like men who are genuine, true men are like more attracted to women who embrace their femininity and are feminine than ones who like are the ones that like try to act strong and try to be independent. And then the same goes the women who are truly feminine and truly like comfortable in their womanality. They are attracted to the men who are strong and want to protect and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think one of the really cool parts about that too, and especially acting chivalrous, is like men want to do it. Like there is a huge desire that's ingrained in us of wanting to protect, wanting to provide. And I had the same conversation with my sister too. I love seeing when women like want that quality of a man, like to not just do it but to desire it. It's something that's, like you said, ingrained in us, and that's the other thing too, is like even if you don't want a man to be chivalrous towards you, they're doing it because they want to. Like 99% of the time.
Yeah. And let them.
Yeah, right? Let them, absolutely.
So there was that thing that was going around a couple months back of where girls were asking guys how often they think about the Roman Empire. Right? You remember this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it was funny because you had all these guys who said, I think about the Roman Empire like all the time. What are you talking about? Like, I don't know, a couple times a week, which is true. I wish they would do one where they said, hey, random guy on the street, how often do you think about what you would do if somebody burst in the room with a gun right now?
All the time.
Because there's that innate desire to protect. Yeah. Like, I'm at school, like hanging out, teaching a class, and I'm like, man, somebody came through that door with a gun right now. Here's what I'd do.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like right now I'm kind of thinking about it right here.
Yeah.
And it's something that we do all the time because it's rightly ordered and we're naturally inclined towards that. Like all these other things, we have to kill it. We have to kill our own nature in order to get along in this backwards society that wants to destroy everything that's true, good, and beautiful.
Right. Yeah. I get tied up with that at mass. Where I'll be like, there's the door.
If there's a bad homily. That's what I do.
Someone's gonna. Yeah, they're gonna go right for him. Probably it's a terrible homily. So I'll jump on top of the pews.
When he's going over to the priest, I think I can hopscotch from this pew to that pew, and I can get up behind him, get him in a headlock, and if I get my hand on that gun,
exactly,
I might be able to get. Then other people will hopefully jump in, but I'll be the hero.
I'll be the main one. I'll be at the bottom of the pile with the gun, just like I got it.
They'll interview me, and I'll. Do you ever get to the interview stage?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. I always get what I would say.
I'm just doing my job,
Sometimes a man's got to take some risks.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of like stare into the camera a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I just did what I had to do. I mean, it's not my job. It's just,
But I think it does come down to chivalry. And once again, I'm sort of spitballing here, so it'll probably come out wonky. But with being, chivalry comes down to being the man that we are called to be, right? To overcoming our baser instincts and passions, to be that person that we're supposed to be. Not always that person that we want to be, not always that person that we feel like being, which is hard and miserable and really, really good. And women are called to it too. We just don't have a fancy word for it.
Yeah. Well, also, I think that you were saying, like, it is something hard. It's something that takes effort. It's something that you actually have to, like, put thought into. It's not something that just willy-nilly happens. And I think, in a way, it makes it easier when a woman is willing to receive that and reciprocate that they are grateful for that chivalry.
So go off on that a little bit. Okay, I would love to hear your thoughts on.
So I was looking in, and oh my gosh, my friend read a book about, like how to be a feminine woman and like a true like Christian feminine woman. Mm-hmm. But she was, oh my gosh, if she was here, she would have had so many good things to say about this. But basically a woman's role in a man's life is to like nurture and take care and receive all that he does for her. Right. And so one thing that I was looking up, like how can like me personally as a woman and like all women could respond to men being chivalrous. And like one thing is just verbally and like vocally say thank you and show that they are appreciative for like what they've done. And so as simple as we keep going back to it, but like opening the door, thank them, just like thank you so much or something like that. One was making gifts for him, or like one thing for me, I absolutely love baking. So I love to bake things for people. Or just like being welcoming to, I think one thing is just being allow yourself to be receptive. I think that's just one main big thing.
I think that the best thing that a woman can do for a man is let him know that he's appreciated and respected, hands down. Yeah. And I do think that's different for women. I think the best thing a man can do for a woman is to let her know that she's loved and cared for, right? And loved and protected maybe. And and I'm not saying that it's not good for a man to make sure that a woman knows that she's respected, right? And appreciated. And I'm not saying that it's not good for a man to know that he's like loved, right? But I do think that in our heart of hearts as men, we desire respect and we desire appreciation. Now, a lot of times we desire that and we don't deserve that, right? And so it's really hard for a woman to show that appreciation and respect to her husband, friend, significant other, father, brother, whatever, if he's clearly not doing the things that would lend themselves to those, right, to that feeling. But I do think that that's what is really the heart of our heart. That and food, banana pudding. I think banana pudding is also one of the ways that a woman can show how much a man.
Noted. Hear that, women?
Seriously. My wife makes me banana pudding every year for my birthday. She doesn't make me a cake. She makes me banana pudding. And then I jealously guard it from my children who changed from my beautiful children to these like greedy goblins who need to be like the gates. I have to fight them off from my banana pudding. Sorry, that was a tangent, but I really like banana pudding.
So your salary is one banana pudding a year?
That's all I need.
Yeah. Hey.
No, but I tell you what, my wife, what she does a great job of is when I come home from work, and this will make me sound like some awful patriarchal whatever. When I come home from work, right, she tells me, she's happy to see me, and she makes me food. And I just feel loved and respected and cared for. And then I have to overcome my own desire to be grumpy because I just got home from work and I'm tired or whatever, and let her know that I love her and that I'm there for her. And I fail at that all the time, right? But I understand that that's what I ought to be doing. So, yeah, cool. I love I really liked your thoughts on just receive it. Right? Be willing to receive it in a non-romantic context, too.
And also in, like, don't what's that word when you, like, let yourself down? Like
self-deprecate?
I guess, don't...
Talking bad about yourself?
Yeah, don't do that to yourself to receive the gesture that the man has done for you. Don't feel weak when you do it. Just like let them do it. And like,
and it's not weakness.
It's not. Right. And that's one thing that I think it's like really correlated with that people or women think that like, oh, if a guy has to open the door for me, or if he has to help me carry my stuff, if he has to, I don't know, pay for my food, it's because I can't do it myself. Right. No, that's not the case.
And that's not what the guy thinks either.
No, exactly.
I know a couple of people, couple of guys who are in relationships, and very early on, they'd be like, I was taking her out to the car and I opened the door for her and she got mad at me. And they were like it's a big turnoff. Like visibly, they're like, it's what I want to do.
Right.
She did not want me to do it, and we sat there and had like a full like hour-long conversation about it.
Yeah.
Like and so to her, she was just like, oh no, I'm strong. I can do it. I can do it myself. I don't want you to. And he was like very like, when you want to do something, you want it to be received well.
Because obviously you can do it by yourself.
Yeah.
I
right.
see you carrying the thing.
Yeah.
I know you can carry that. I know you can walk around and open the door, but I'm doing it out of a respect to you that I feel is owed by virtue of your femininity. And I'll do it to the 70-year-old. I should be doing it to the 70-year-old woman too, who I have no romantic or attraction to. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think also it comes from away from the woman's perspective. It's also a way of maturing, is when you allow a man to do that for you, because obviously when you were young, from like early teenage to probably about like young adult, you got so many insecurities, and I think that stems from that nowadays. Especially there's a lot of just insecurities and doubt in the young adults nowadays, in the youth. So I think that's one main thing. It stems from that. So I think it's also a sense of maturity to allow someone to do that. And it might not come automatically, honestly. Right. You might not allow yourself to be loved or to be appreciated. But I think with more time or more gestures, you will be open to that.
Well, and to any men out there who are listening, who are not husbands, right, but who are maybe older brothers, or maybe have females that you're friends with who you don't have any romantic or sexual attraction to, it is so important that men who are non-romantically interested, non-sexually threatening, show respect and affection towards women, because there's a lot of women out there who go looking for that affirmation and that attention and that love, and they go looking in the wrong places for it because they've never seen it demonstrated correctly. Right? When a guy's being sweet and nice and saying nice things to you, what he's doing is trying to sleep with you or something like that. Right? And if their only experience of men being nice to them is men who are trying to get with them or whatever, then that is so incredibly disordered. They need examples. And if you're a dad, take your daughters out.
That's one thing. That's one thing that I was thinking about what you were saying. I thought about it earlier too. It's like, as a dad, your role is to not critique your daughters or tell them that they don't look good. That's not your role. Is to tell them they look pretty. Take them out.
Delight
help them.
in them. Let them know that you delight in them.
Yeah.
And if that's hard for you, tough crap. I'm sorry. I don't care. You have to do it anyway. Nobody cares.
And I think that's one come on, Dad, step up. You gotta. If you have daughters, you have to accept the fact that you have daughters.
I talk to a lot of high schoolers, talk to a lot of college kids all the time, and I hear the worst stories about father wounds from girls, from dads who were not abusive, they were not terrible, but they were stoic in some way towards their daughter. In some way, they did not show their daughters that they delighted in them. And I think about that all the time. I have a 5-year-old who is just darling. I love her to death. She's one of the meanest people I've ever met in so many ways, but she's just this beautiful thing. This awesome. And she says to me every day, she wears a school uniform to school every day, so she looks the exact same every day, and she always says, "Daddy, do I look pretty?" And my answer is always, "You look beautiful, darling." Oh my gosh. And I just make a huge deal out of it. And I'm not feeling all those emotions every time. A lot of times it's early in the morning. And it's not because I've thought of this and I'm a particularly great dad. It's because great dads have told me to do that. And so I'm just desperate to make sure my daughter understands her self-worth from somebody who's not romantically interested in her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you hear a lot now about the term daddy issues and stuff.
Yep.
And there is a huge, it seems like women desire the sort of acceptance from their fathers more than they want it from their mothers.
100%. Yes.
Even though there's that gender connection, that gender disconnection, it seems like a lot of the issues that, I don't want to say a lot of the issues that some women have, but a lot of the compromisations that they've made in their morals and values, and a lot of the problems that they may have in their lives are attributed because their dad wasn't a good father.
Yeah.
And even subconsciously, even if they're not I don't want the best dad, I just want, a decent dad. So that has an effect on you. And it's one that totally resonates through society and chivalry and all those. It's all connected.
Are you dating anybody right now, Cameron?
Not right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, if you know someone who needs to go out with Cameron over here, make sure you shoot us an email to youngadult@thequestatlanta.
Plural. And young adults.
young adults at
thequestatlanta.com.
Great. And who knows? Maybe
Yeah, maybe that's it. I appreciate
He's
it.
a great guy.
Thanks for the shout out.
We're doing Chivalry, so I'm not going to do an anonymous try to set you up. We're going to wait till we do the
Is this the blind date where the woman comes in? And,
Hey,
I wasn't expecting
I
that.
had breakfast with a guy today who told me that his boss tried 3 times in a row to set him up on a blind date with his daughter, like the
No
boss's
way.
daughter. And he said, no. And he finally did it, and they've been married for like 10 years.
No
and
way.
They have 4
That's
kids.
really
It was really good.
My grandparents on my dad's side, they met that way because it was a blind date through a mutual friend.
Right.
And yeah, they're obviously together.
It's super. I just love the idea of a guy setting up his daughter with this other guy, them getting married, and I don't know. That's really cool.
My older brother Tristan, his wife's which is weird. They've been married for a couple months now, and it's weird that I have a sister-in-law now. But his wife's mom worked with Tristan, like they were co-workers, and so she set him up with her daughter, and now they're married. And like it just worked out perfectly. Like they worked at Home Depot together. And
Super cool.
it
All
was
the
like-
romance starts
She
at
was
Home
like, "You
Depot."
should date my
That's right.
daughter," and
Yeah.
so he was like, "Okay."
Gentlemen, find yourself a girl who can find her way around Home Depot.
Oh yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, y'all, this has been awesome. I feel like I actually had a few more things I wanted to get to, but that's not how radio works because we're almost out of time. So
Almost out of time.
I do want to make sure that we get to loaded questions so we don't get angry comments about how we didn't get to loaded questions. And we're going to start with Madeline.
What is your favorite movie ever? The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Oh, dude,
I watched that
Ben
movie
Stiller.
with Ben.
I
Were you on that beach retreat?
no, I wasn't.
You should have come. It
hasn't
was
been on a
great.
beach
I
retreat.
should have, but
Yeah, it's a really good movie. All right, cool. Cameron, what you got?
Mine is if you could own one type of store, what would it be? And it would absolutely be an old style Italian shoe store. Yeah. So there was. It's funny because it's not really Italian, but so I have family that lives up in New England. We would go to this place called Sturbridge Village or something like that. It's basically like this old, like colonial era, like the late 1700s America, and you have all these different like stores, and there was always this one overweight, really old guy with a long white beard making shoes like the old fashioned way,
Killer.
and it always
Yes.
looked like throwing a cigar, go out, make your shoes all day long, and it's just the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, I dig it. I'm going to answer 2 of these. One, because I always make everyone answer this. It's what's your favorite dessert, but we've made it what's your favorite desert.
Yep.
Remove one S. My favorite desert is the Kalahari Desert. Big shout out to Namibia.
You seem like a calamari guy.
yeah. Kalahari.
Calamari.
Calamari
Yeah.
is the fried
I
squid.
mean, you seem like a calamari guy too.
I am a calamari guy. I was there last summer. So I was doing some hunting out there last summer. I always have to clarify that because every time I feel like I say I was in Namibia, people are like, "Oh, mission work?" I was like, "No, just selfish vacation." I was hunting. It was great.
Mission work, you.
Yeah, I'm not against it. That's not why I was there. Anyway, so the one question I want to seriously answer is, what is the most exciting movie you've ever seen? There's only one right answer. That's the original Pacific Rim.
Oh, okay.
And I probably talked about this on
pretty
air
great.
before. And why I like it so much is this is the entire plot. Are you ready? There's a big portal that allows giant monsters to come to Earth. All the Earth's government solved this problem by building giant robots to fight the monsters. End of plot. There is
There you
no
go.
romantic anything.
Nope.
There's no. It's just like
big robot fight big
the
monster.
whole movie is like another monster. Right? Let's go
Yeah.
fight it with our big robot. It's so cool. It's
Yeah.
so simplistic, and it's the best.
That's a great answer to that question, John Henry, but I just watched True Lies recently, and that is a very exciting
True
movie.
Lies is good.
Dude, just the last bit with the jet, holy crap.
Maybe we should talk about RRR for the next 30 minutes and then clip it a bunch for.
It has gotten 8,000 views.
It's ridiculous.
It's doubled in the last month.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Once again, big shout out to all of our friends on the subcontinent.
Yep. All right. Mine is, and I've brought this up a couple times in the show, but I always like mentioning it. What's the worst thing you've ever experienced? I've dislocated my knees 16 times.
You do bring that up every show. I feel like that line
Every
is there.
chance I get. And it's like if you've ever seen Mortal Kombat when somebody kicks someone's
zooms
leg and it
in,
zooms in, you see
X-ray.
it break.
Yeah.
I get that view of my knee when it happens. Like I know exactly how my knee fits together.
That's great.
In a split instant.
No, let's really
And
dig
it's
into
really
that.
painful.
No,
Yeah.
that makes good radio. Yeah. That, and you haven't experienced it, but if you had experienced a burrito full of human teeth,
Yeah, that would
be
probably
unpleasant.
be very unpleasant.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if it's worse than dislocating your knee or hurts pretty bad, but Definitely wouldn't be
I've
pleasant.
never experienced either, and hope never to.
Oh, okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, great show today. Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Always a blast here on AM 1160 The Quest, Atlanta's Catholic Radio. You're listening to Honest to God. Producer Ben,
Signing off.
over and out.